Okay, so today we're going to get a little more information going about how we use el condicional, which you've been working with, talk about what we would do, what you would do, what I would do, what the class would do, etc. And we're going to talk a little bit more about hypothetical situations, like if-then type situations, because it really is one of the most common ways in which we use el condicional. And so what we're doing here is we're talking about las cláusulas sí, or sí clauses, if clauses, y el condicional. And the way we're really introducing this is instead of introducing the verb mood and tense that's in the C clause as new grammar, additional new grammar, we're really introducing it as vocab at this point in time, a bit of additional vocabulary. And then what will happen is towards the end, or at some point in time next year, for those of you who go on to Spanish 4, you'll see this as a different verb mood and verb tense. So let's go. Por ahora, so for now, la regla más básica es que si ves una de estas expresiones en la primera parte de una oración, so if you see one of the expressions listed in the middle, in the first part or first clause of a sentence, vas a usar el condicional en la segunda parte de la oración. You're going to use a conditional in the other part, second part, other clause of a sentence. And so I do want to make sure that we understand what these all mean, so please write this down. The first, si yo fuera, is if I were. Si yo estuviera is also if I were, but to talk about emotions or location. Si yo tuviera, if I had. Si yo pudiera, if I could. And si yo fuera in this case means if I went. So keep that in mind. And be aware, the way you're going to see this really is going to be you're going to have a C clause, and then the second clause will usually have a verb in the conditional. You'll get a little bit of practice with this as time goes on. We'll do some fill-ins, translations, et cetera, to help you understand how this functions over the next several days. So a few examples here for you. So we have the initial si yo fuera, if I were. And what you're going to do with the examples from the video is you're going to write down the back half of the sentence, so the part after the comma, en español, and that's going to include a verb in the conditional. And then you should also write down the translation so that you have a good example as to how this would look or sound in English as well. So the first example is si yo fuera tú, haría ejercicio por lo menos 3 días cada semana. That translates to if I were you, I would do exercise at least 3 days each week. El segundo ejemplo, si yo fuera médico o médica, tendría que ver a muchos pacientes enfermos. If I were a doctor, I would have to see a lot of sick patients. Moving on to si yo estuviera, if I were, talking about location and how you're feeling. So emotions, how you're feeling along those lines. Okay? So the examples here. Si yo estuviera en otro país, tendría acceso al sistema médico público. If I were in another country, I would have access to the public health system or the public medical system. Second example, segundo ejemplo, si yo estuviera enfermo or enferma, llamaría al médico. If I were sick, I would call the doctor. Moving on to si yo tuviera, if I had. Si yo tuviera tiempo y dinero, iría a un balneario muchas veces cada año. If I had time and money, I would go to a spa many times every year. Second option, si yo tuviera una receta para una medicina, tendría que ir a la farmacia para obtenerla. If I had a prescription for a medication, I would have to go to the pharmacy to get it. Penúltima, second to last expression. Si yo pudiera, if I could. Si yo pudiera dormir más, no estaría tan cansada. If I could sleep more, I wouldn't be so tired. Si yo pudiera balancearme, no me resbalaría tanto. If I could balance myself, or if I could balance, I wouldn't slip so much. Y finalmente, si yo fuera, if I went. Si yo fuera a la sala de urgencias, no estaría feliz. If I went to the emergency room, I wouldn't be happy. And last example, si yo fuera a la farmacia, no saldría del coche para obtener la medicina. If I went to the pharmacy, I would not get out of the car to get the medicine. Now that you've got these notes, do some practice with the exercise on página 3. You are going to fill in the blanks with the correct conjugation of the verb in parentheses and el condicional. And then you're going to translate the sentence from Espanol to Inglés. Gracias.